You walk into the tavern and you notice immediately the smells of the room and just the different scents from the food that is currently being served to different patrons in the bar. You walk up to the tavern keeper and then you ask him if he has noticed any strange people who have been in the area lately. And you pull out this note that you have about someone who is searching for people of different skills to find this powerful artifact called an Aether Stone that hasn't been found for thousands of years. The barkeeper looks at you and he nods and he gestures over to the corner in the back where there are several different people who are of different races and different abilities. And they look like definitely a peculiar group of people who would be out in public together, but you know that these are the people that you're looking for. So you immediately go back to introduce yourself. The quest that you are on is something that you're all going to have to band together and use your different strengths and abilities to go and find the Aether Stone. So my name is Tessa Nelson, and what I did was just an introduction to a general D&D game. And I will just be explaining the different ways that you can make your D&D game a more enjoyable experience and just how to play in general. And so one of the first things that's important when you play D&D is picking your class and your race. And so we'll first start with race, and there are several different races that you can pick from. The most common ones are elves, gnomes, half-orcs, dwarves, humans, halflings, and half-elves. Now, each one of these has different abilities and different skills. For example, elves are really good at using magic. Humans are usually really good at doing different skills and abilities and can just basically do anything. Dwarves are good at going and tracking and knowing different metals and fighting. Gnomes are really good at like sneaking around and being really sneaky in that regard. And that is one of the most important things that you can do is picking your race and what kind of skills that you want to play to your strengths in the game. And now, one of the second most important things is picking the right class for you. So just to run down the classes real quick, fighters are really good at just fighting in general and can basically pick up any weapon and use it. Rangers are really good with bows and tracking. Wizards are good with using magic, but they are not very good at using hand-to-hand combat or weapons in general. Clerics are basically people who have the ability to use magic that comes from their god, and they are good at fighting. Monks are good at hand-to-hand combat. Bards are the politicians of the world, so they have a lot of charisma and can influence people through music or an act. And druids are basically the hippies of D&D, and they are really good at being in tune with nature and communing with animals. Rogues are basically those who steal and are really good at sneaking around and like getting away with stuff. Paladins are also holy men, but they're more like stronger fighters, and they are able to use more like firm weapons. And barbarians are basically those who are really strong at fighting and can also go into like rages and are really passionate when they fight. And each one of these, as you noticed that I mentioned at the beginning, when I introduced the different characters, each of these have different strengths and play to each other's strengths. So wizards are not very good at fighting, and if you had a group just full of wizards and you came across bandits, it would not be a good thing. However, if you have a wizard and like a fighter or a paladin, then it balances out the game. So each class is really important to the game and creates a dynamic group of people who can play together and play to each other's weaknesses and their strengths. And then one of the most important things that you can do in D&D is pick, at level 3, you get a special ability in each class. And one of the things that you can do is pick a special ability that ties all of this stuff together. So like if you played a rogue and a gnome, gnomes are really good at sneaking around and rogues are really good at thieving. And so you can play to the classes and expand on that. And so when you pick your magical ability, for example, I play a warlock, and then I have the ability to disguise self at any time that I want. And all of these things just add up to make a really good dynamic game. And then the last advice that I have for playing D&D is to go out and make sure that you have really good character development when you make your character, creating backstory and creating backstory and like a really deep character will help you get immersed in the game as you watch your character grow and develop into a really interesting human being and maybe make some changes along the way. And so those are my general suggestions and, encouragement for making a really good, dynamic, and fun D&D game. Thank you so much for listening.